Game started.
Renoff. All right. Renoff starts off with F4. Well, you know, I haven't played the From Gambit in a while. Let's try it. Okay, that's another thing. After E4, after E5, white can play E4, and we've transposed into a King's Gambit. So it's no longer a From Gambit or a Bird's Opening. It's just a King's Gambit. And the knight move. I'm trying to remember how I usually play this. Let's see, I think if he comes out here with the bishop, I want to be able to defend this guy. Oh, right, you play this first. That's right, G5. You play G5, defending the pawn. He comes out here, and you play your bishop here. This is the line I usually play. The idea of the bishop move is to defend the square E5, so the knight can't hop in there and get pressure on F7. Notice the queen is defending G4, so the knight can't take there. And eventually I will play H6 here to defend G4, and then I'll be able to develop my knight. Yeah, here. If he didn't play H4, which is also a line. If he plays H4, then you play G5. So this is a standard position in the King's Gambit. I'm holding on to the pawn for now, and he's getting a lot of development. And my knight, I think my knight can go to F6, F6 or E7. There's also some point in playing C6 to keep his knight from jumping into these squares. So let's try C6 first, see if I can get away with it. I'm not sure if that's a move here. I'm out of my book and improvising. I just get to this position and play it. And so now D5 looks interesting. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Now I want to play knight F6 first, and then maybe I can play D5. So it might have been better to go with the knight to E7, because then I could have gotten D5 in with no trouble. But D5 here, he takes the knight, I take the bishop, he takes the bishop. Yeah, it doesn't work here. D5 does not work here. Okay, if the knight moves to this square or this, can't go there. If he goes here, then he's got a tempo move with his knight, because the knight's not protected. Okay, so I think I'm going to give a pawn back here. I don't want to just retreat my knight, but at least eliminate one of his defenders and leave me with this messed up, leave me with a messed up pawn structure. So I probably didn't play that right. I probably should have played knight E7 there. So I'm going to castle. Where is he going? Anywhere? And then I'm going to play D6 here to try and undermine these pawns. Also, D6 opens up a line for my bishop. So this is all useful stuff. So if he does nothing, I'm going to take and develop my bishop to E6, hitting his knight. These knights look ominous, but have they got any real targets here? I have to be careful about the C7 square, I guess. But anyway, this is my plan, was to hit his D knight. So I think maybe is the more dangerous of the two knights. It can go into C7. It can also deliver checks on F6 and E7. So getting rid of this knight would be a feat for me. And then I can bring my other knight out maybe to D7 to harass this guy. And this diagonal may open up towards his king. Maybe I'll get a check here on B3. Okay, he's developing his queen. And that gives him some influence on these squares. But I have him covered with my knight for the moment. So I can get a pawn back here, and this is very useful to grab this pawn if I can do it without being punished, because because then I'll be able to develop my knight to c6, which is a natural square for the knight. So it wasn't about the pawn, although that helps. It was more about being able to develop here. And okay, so he's just protecting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Wonder, I should play perhaps b5 here, hitting his queen. The queen can't go anywhere really to protect the pawn. Queen could go to could go to b6, b3. So do I want the queen trade? This is a dangerous passed pawn in the endgame. I do have one extra pawn, and if he pushes the pawn forward, it actually opens up this diagonal for my bishop. So I think, all in all, it's okay for me to just go after the pawn. I'm going to try and blockade it here. Yeah, and he pushed it forward, so it opens up this diagonal, so I have some pressure here. And when I move my knight, I'm going to lose this pawn. That's interesting. The pawn is pinned because his knight is not defended. So I can actually just double my rooks. So if he takes, I go there with check. Okay, so he unpins the pawn, but now it's just hanging. Unless there's some tactic here. No, I don't see a tactic here. Let's defend the rook this way. If he just wants to trade everything off, now I am 2 pawns up. And he doesn't have any passed pawns, so I'm in good shape here. Good shape, I think. Let's take the bishop and then play f6 here to defend this pawn. It'll be rook and knight against rook and knight. Is there a better way to play it? Maybe if I encourage him to take. Because I would be undoubling his pawns if I played it that way. Here, the rook is defending the g-pawn. Okay, he's going after the knight and activating his rook, which is good. All that is good. So I should activate my knight. If he tries to pin my knight, I can take his knight with check. So let's do that. And then get this endgame, rook and pawn endgame, where he can win this pawn. I'm going to let him have it. And I'm going to win some of these pawns here if I can. Oh, he let me win the pawn in front of his king. That's got to be good for me. And he can't come back and defend his pawns here. So this should be a routine win. Let's see. Keep the king cut off from these pawns and march them forward. Keep my king sheltered from his rook.
Check.
Using my surplus pawn here.
White resigns.
Okay, well, that was an interesting game. I'm going to upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.